Hey guys, here is the Galaxy A56 from Samsung. This phone has a brand new chip, the Exynos 1580. This chip is supposed to be a big improvement over last year's Exynos 1480. So in this video, we'll run some benchmarks and play some games to see how capable this phone actually is. Starting with the benchmarks, in terms of CPU, the Exynos 1580 scores about 17% more in single core and about 9% more in multi-core, which is a pretty decent improvement. However, in terms of GPU, there is a massive 28% improvement over last year. That is quite impressive. In Antutu, which is a benchmark of overall performance, there is a nice 23% improvement. So now with these improvements, this chip is now roughly equal to Snapdragon 7 Gen 3, which is pretty decent. It's still not something capable of high-end gaming, but for general use and casual gaming, this should be more than enough. Even in terms of sustained performance, there is nothing to complain about, as it has only improved over last year, which was already pretty good. Now let's talk about gaming. Starting with the popular casual game, Subway Surfers. This game is running very smoothly at 120 FPS, and even after playing it for a few minutes, this phone doesn't even get warm. So casual gaming will have absolutely no problem on this phone. Next is BGMI or PUBG. At the time of making this video, we are only getting 30 FPS option with any of the graphics options. So we are playing in HD graphics with 30 FPS. Now during gameplay, you can see that the CPU and GPU usage is just around 50%. So this game is not at all taxing for this phone. We can obviously expect this game to be updated to support 60 or even 90 FPS, as this phone can definitely handle it. This is exactly what happened with last year's A55 as well. At launch, it only supported 30 FPS, but within a couple of weeks, 60 FPS was enabled on it. With this A56, once the higher frame rate option is available, I'll leave a pinned comment about it along with my experience playing it, so stay tuned for that. But for now, this phone is handling 30 FPS without breaking a sweat, and as you can see, the average FPS over nearly 15 minutes of gameplay remains at 30 FPS. Next is Call of Duty Mobile. Here we are getting the option to play at 60 FPS with medium graphics. This game definitely feels a lot smoother as it is running at 60 FPS. Fast forwarding a little bit. Okay, so the game feels very responsive. I didn't experience any stuttering or frame drop, and you can see that the average frame rate is almost 60 FPS, with the minimum FPS also being a good 54 FPS. So this phone is definitely doing a good job playing this game. Okay, now this is Asphalt Legends Unite, which is a bit more demanding, and I'm pleasantly surprised to see that this phone supports it at the highest graphics and 60 FPS. As you can see, it looks amazing with all its beautiful visuals, and it feels very smooth and responsive as well. I honestly wasn't expecting this phone to play this game so well. Let's fast forward a few minutes to see whether it can maintain this performance over a period of time. Okay, 15 minutes later, it's still going strong. I have not noticed any major frame drops or stuttering, and this graph agrees with my experience. We are getting about 56 average FPS, which is pretty good. The big frame drops you see are during loading screens between races, which happens on all phones, but during the actual race, the frame rate is around 55 to 60 FPS, which feels very smooth and playable. So I'm quite impressed with this one. Last but not the least, we have Genshin Impact. Here we are playing at the low graphics preset with 60 FPS. I was actually expecting better results as the A55 was able to play with medium graphics and get around 45 to 50 FPS. But here, even with low graphics, we are only getting around 40 to 45 FPS with some dips to around 30 FPS. With the lowest graphics preset, this phone gives around 50 FPS, which is very playable, but given the amount of power this phone has, it should definitely perform better than this. I guess some optimization is required to make this game more playable on this phone. If there is any improvement in the future, I'll share my experience in the pinned comment. So overall, considering the improvement in benchmark numbers and games like Call of Duty and Asphalt Legends Unite, this phone is definitely a good upgrade over last year's A55. But with games like BGMI and Genshin Impact, the performance is not as expected and some optimization is definitely required. Alright, so that's the performance test of the Galaxy A56. Hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.